Hello, beautiful people. My name is Doc J, and you have entered into another episode of The Doc Is In. And it's episode 30, right? Wow. Again, thank you guys for being with me. You could have been anywhere, you could have watched anything on YouTube, but you're watching this, and I appreciate it. You're the best. This episode actually kind of spun off from the last one. I realized that in the last episode I mentioned something when I said that the person who was toxic might be axis 2. And so I want to make sure that I kind of go into a little bit of elaboration as to what axis 2 means. So in the DSM, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, it's currently in its fifth edition, but in the DSM, people can be on a multi-axial diagnostic system. So that means that there are five different areas of mental health issues and surrounding issues that are affected and the person could be diagnosed within. So when we're talking about people with access to issues, that's long-standing clinically significant issues. So generally think personality disorders are mental retardation. These are things that really are generally like they're lasting for years. They're usually present before adulthood, and but they really do significantly impact the person on a day-to-day. This is also a good point to note that they can't generally be treated with medication. So when you're talking about something that's access to, it is a mental health issue. It is something that the person is dealing with, but it's not something that can be cured per se. This is something that the individual just kind of has to learn to live with. So when you're talking about an axis 2 thing, the reason why I'll say they're on a different axis than, let's say, bipolar disorder or depression, because when you're talking about axis 1 disorders like depression and whatnot, these are things that are episodic. So they come, they go. You might be having a great, span of 5 years and you never notice your depression, but then it kind of flares up and then you're down for a year or whatever. So they come and go, they're waning and waxing. However, personality disorders and things like mental retardation, this is chronic. This happens over many, many years or a lifetime. So in DSM-5, they got rid of like the axis system per se, but usually we still refer to things like personality disorders, mental retardation. We'll generally just say it as axis 2. But yeah, just saying. So, one of the main disorders, I mean, there's several types of personality disorders, but the one that we see most frequently is going to be borderline personality disorder, or BPD. The weird part about BPD, and one of the things that's kind of a tell when that's probably the issue, is if you have someone and they tell you something like, oh my gosh, my bipolar disorder is just getting worse and worse, and I keep taking the medication, but the medication's not working. That's usually a huge sign, because if they're saying the medication's not working and they're taking it regularly, they're taking it as prescribed, then oftentimes that's pointing to something that is maybe a co-occurring disorder. So that's when you look at borderline personality disorder or a personality disorder, any other, narcissistic, etc., histrionic. They're more. But anyway, usually when we're talking about borderline personality disorder, it's a lot of emotional instability and it's a lot of mood swings. So some of the symptoms I'll just call out, and I never want to call these out because I never want people to start doing them as a means to say, hey, I have BPD. But one of the things is like impulsive choices, like gambling, shopping sprees, risky sex, that kind of stuff. That's one that can be a sign. Like mood swings, not just like, oh, I was kind of happy, now I'm kind of sad. No, like powerful, like I love you right now, but I hate you in the next 5 minutes. Like 1 minute I will be fighting with you, throwing things at you, and then the next second it's like, I can't live without you, please don't leave me, I'm crying, I'm breaking down. That type of changing of emotions. One other thing that generally points to borderline personality disorder is like if all of your relationships with family and friends are super unstable, like not to say that they can't stand you, but they never know what version of you they're getting, and one minute you're smiling and happy with them and the next minute you're like cursing everybody out and getting kicked out of Christmas dinner. Yeah, that's not what's up. um, if you're always feeling bored, like I'm always bored, I'm always like I feel empty or hollow inside, that can definitely be one of them. A lot of times people with BPD have anger issues, as I mentioned earlier. Those really turbulent relationships, those powerful changing emotions, a lot of times they're anger outbursts, like really, really. I can't even really describe it. Just really extreme anger outbursts, breaking things, doing things that are so far left of center that you'd be like, oh my God. I've had a patient to crash their car into their partner's car. I've had people like kick windows and punch windows and hurt themselves, just any number of things. Um, so having a very insecure concept of yourself, in like in everything that affects your life, like so everything is distorted, nothing is firm for you, everything in your life is like, oh my gosh, it could be here or there. When people begin to almost feel paranoid, that can be one. Now, if you fall into full scale paranoia, then that's psychosis. But I mean, like, but those kind of fleeting paranoid thoughts, that can be it. Like that irrational fear of abandonment. Oh my gosh, like where it's like it's not just a matter of like I feel like I'm afraid of being left, but it's like I will do anything to keep you here. So a lot of times, and I say this, and I'm only kind of joking. I've referred to a lot of BPD patients as emotion terrorists because you get someone who is willing to literally do anything to keep your attention and to keep your focus on them. So it's not beyond a person with BPD to say something like, if you leave me, I'll kill myself, because that keeps the person focused on them. Maybe they will actually do something very big for that attention. So you may end up with things like, I don't want to say this because it tends to minimize the situation, but when people attempt to commit suicide, but they do so in a way that's really clearly not intended to end their lives. So I'm going to send out a message to everyone I know saying, okay, this is it. I just want to hurt myself. Now I'm going to send this message out, but I'm going to be in, a situation where anybody can come and find me. Or I'll take pills or something, but I'm not taking any pills that are really going to hurt me, but I'm just going to take pills so that I can say I took an overdose of pills. Um, just go into those real extremes to make sure that someone will be around you or someone's going to stay with you. And a lot of that like cutting behavior can also be cries for attention. So I mean, with someone who is dealing with BPD, because of the impulsivity, there is always a very real risk that they could hurt themselves. And I'm gonna also just put the number again for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. If this sounds like you, or if there's a loved one in immediate danger, or you, please call 911. But if you feel like if someone told you they're having suicidal thoughts, or if that's you, please call, get help. There's never any shame in getting the help that you need. Um, I hope this has been helpful. Unfortunately, I wish that I could tell you a really great way to cure or get over an Axis 2 diagnosis or something like borderline personality disorder, but unfortunately, there's no real cure. There are coping mechanisms available. There are places that you can go, and the modality that works for this is dialectical behavioral therapy, which is basically distress tolerance. You're learning how to cope with those times of distress. And what I'll do is put some links to some DBT exercises, and I hope it's helpful to you. Um, yeah, have a great week, guys. I'm sorry to end on such like a heavy note, but love yourself, love someone else. We'll all be better for it.